Questions?
James, you mentioned how close Zuriah was to playing on Saturday. Saw him out there. Has he looked early this week in practice as you maybe hoped or expected?
Yeah, I would still think, though, even in this game, even if he wants to, we'll probably only play him a limited amount of reps and ease him into it. But yeah, right now he's a go.
James, what are the advantages and disadvantages to having the coaches in the box on your side of the field, your coaches and the opposing coaches?
Yeah, there's definitely some advantages in terms of to be quite honest, people stealing signals and things like that. So there's some advantages to doing it that way. We felt like it's been a problem in the past, so when we had the opportunity to move, we wanted to move. It makes some things a little bit more difficult on people, so that's probably the biggest reason.
James, didn't get a chance to ask on Monday, but Zion Tracy did not play on Saturday. Was that a precautionary thing on your end, and where does he stand right now for game 2?
Yeah, he's ready to go. He's practiced all week long, including Sunday. So we're anticipating him ready to go. There'll be 2 significant guys that we're getting back, veterans that have played a decent amount of football for us.
James, along those lines, we saw Woseley get the start and play a lot of the nickel. How did he come out of that game? What was kind of your assessment looking back at it?
Yeah, I thought Woos did a nice job. He's a high football IQ guy. Obviously Zion's played a ton of football for us, or having him back is significant, but Woseley did some nice things in the game, and we'll continue to find a way to rotate him in and get him some work. But obviously having Zion back is significant for us.
Hey, James. Dixon, Coleman, Howard, and others alike have gotten a lot of praise early on as first-year players, but Jahmor Joseph actually played the most snaps in week 1 here. What can you say about him and the progress that he's made so far?
Yeah, we're excited about that whole group. There's a bunch of these young guys that we're hoping continue to approach us the right way. He's one of these guys I could see later in the season, maybe having a different conversation with how we're using him. Probably didn't come in the way Darius did, in terms of just kind of how quickly he picked it up and how he was approaching it, but very mature, very strong, physically put together already, doesn't look like a freshman. Consistency, like all these guys, is still a little bit of an issue at times. But overall, we've been very, very pleased with him and anticipate him playing at some point this year. We'll see how this develops.
James, where's Eagan Boyer? I know this spring he wasn't available. We didn't see him in Beaver Stadium. He was out last week, but from what I can tell, it seems to be making progress on the practice field, and I know he's up over 300 pounds, so can you kind of update us on where he is? Yeah,
he's another guy that's cleared for this week and available. I think when he got here, he was like 238 pounds, so the fact that he's over 300 pounds is amazing. Still skinny on a 6'8" frame, but yeah, he practiced today. He did most of practice yesterday, so he's cleared and ready to go as long as there was no issues through today's practice.
James, another redshirt freshman, you guys first started, Antione Belgrave-Shorter. How did you assess what you saw from him on film?
Yeah, overall good. There's a lot more on those guys' plate from a communication standpoint, and we need to improve there a little bit. But very pleased with Belgrave. We think we got 4 guys that we can win with, and probably a 5th. But he's a guy that's doing some really good things. Obviously earned a starting job, a name that a lot of people weren't talking a whole lot about before the season started. But he earned it. Was very consistent all training camp. Created a bunch of turnovers as well. So a guy that we're expecting to take a big step this week between week 1 and week 2.
James, can you share your non-conference scheduling strategy and why there's an advantage to a game where you can get 73 guys into action?
Yeah, it's a little bit of strategy, and it's a little bit of kind of the predicament we're in. For us, we want to put ourselves in the best position to get into conference play as healthy and as confident as we possibly can be to make a run in conference play. But as you guys know, we have played West Virginia home and home. We played Pitt home and home. We played Auburn home and home. We were supposed to be playing Virginia Tech this year. I don't know if everybody realizes that, but we had Virginia Tech scheduled during COVID. When we didn't go there, that game got canceled because of COVID. We just played conference games. They didn't want to obviously keep the other end of that schedule, which was this year. So that was part of the reason that we're in the predicament we're in. But again, I think you can make arguments both ways. I don't really have an issue with either model. We have found a way to be successful in both of them. But we want to make sure that we find a way to win this game, that we play well and get better, and that we stay as healthy as we possibly can. You know, that's playing 73 guys as part of that, gaining that experience, and also limiting guys' reps. You know, we'd love to be able to do that again if possible. Most importantly, we got to win the game.
Hey, James, you mentioned with your passing attack wanting to be more explosive on Monday. Is that more shot taking or shot calling in the offense from the passing game?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. And I think it's also what I talked about after the game, how they're defending us. It wouldn't surprise me this week if it's a similar model where they're snapping the ball under 5 and playing some type of soft, middle of the field open or middle of the field closed defense. And with the idea that we're going to keep everything, they're going to keep everything in front of them. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, we obviously being explosive is a big part of our identity and who we want to be. I also think not punting is also not bad.
James, you talked about Gabe a little bit on Monday, but what are some of the things that we might not see behind the scenes from him, and what have you kind of learned about him during his time at Penn State?
Yeah, might not see. You haven't seen anything of Gabe, right? We didn't punt last week, so like I mentioned before, his A ball. As good as any A-ball we've had here, and it was about consistency. He's been more consistent right now, and did a really nice job through training camp, not only on kickoff, but punt and also field goal. He's a legitimate guy in all 3 aspects right now, so we've been very pleased with him. Hopefully you won't see him again Saturday, but if he does, we're expecting him to do what he did in camp all year, which is punt for obviously great distance, location, and hang time.
Do you have a situation where he could be, like, for a certain distance, he could be the guy on field goals, and you've done that in the past?
Yeah, he could be a long field goal guy for us. He made a 62-yarder that would have been good from probably 66 in the stadium. So he could be a long field goal, end of the half, end of the game type guy.
James, in terms of, you talked about previously scheduling for matchups that are kind of unfamiliar early into the season. What kind of goes into that game planning? Do you kind of look at previous film? Do you look at the coaches? How does that work?
Yeah, for these games, it's hard when it's an early season game and a new staff. Special teams coordinator was at one place, the offense coordinator was at another place, the defense coordinator, the head coach. That's the challenge, right? What film do you watch? What philosophy have they decided to go with? You got one game to really go off of. So at the end of the day, that's why we practice against each other all training camp, because we got rules to handle everything, whether on defense it's empty or it's unbalanced or whatever it may be. On offense, whether it's cover 0, we have answers. So if we see something in the game that we haven't necessarily practiced or anticipated for, then you just follow your rules, and we have ways of putting our guys in the best position to be successful just by following their base rules on how we handle these things.
2 more guys.
There's been a lot of buzz, James, about the whole Nike Adidas thing. Do you care about that at this point of the season at all?
At this point, I do not. That's something that the administration is working on. I mean, obviously, I have an awareness of what's going on, but we're focused on our opponent for Saturday.
Hey, James, speaking of your opponent, FIU is an up-tempo, speedy team. What kind of test does that pose for your team?
Yeah, we'll see. I think it's one thing, in theory, that's who they may want to be. It's another thing to see if that's how they'll be against us. So there's some challenges. Obviously, their quarterback is the preseason conference player of the year. Their return specialist is the preseason conference player of the year. They do some nice things schematically. Ton of RPOs on offense. Use the mobility of the quarterback. So they create some challenges. There's no doubt about it. They're bigger on both fronts than what we faced last week. So we'll see how all those things play out. The competition that they played last week is a little bit different than us. So again, watching that tape is good, but it creates some challenges to kind of figure out what's going to translate to this type of game compared to last week's game.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.